Hi, I'm David Spakes, and this is the first meeting of Spirit and Truth Fellowship of Knoxville. And we've had our church service here, but the purpose of this section of our meeting is to present the vision of this church. Why are we here, and what makes us different from other churches? I mean, if we were like another church, we could just go up the street to that church. But we've chosen not to do that. We feel led to do this because we have a very specific vision in mind. And so that's what the purpose of the slides set today is, to explain our vision, why are we here, and what do we want to see happen in our church. My address, spakes@spiritandtruth.net. I hope you'll email with comments and questions. Today is February the 13th of 2011. We're going to have our next meeting will be March the 13th of 2011, and then 4 weeks later on April the 10th, we'll be having the same presentation. So I hope you'll support us in that. The mission of Spirit and Truth Fellowship is to be a church where sincere skeptics are welcomed in an atmosphere of mutual respect, so that they can consider the possibility that God exists and understand what it means to have a relationship with Him. So what specifically about the vision are we looking at? Well, it's the lines sincere skeptic and mutual respect. Let me read it again. The mission of Spirit and Truth Fellowship is to be a church where sincere skeptics are welcomed in an atmosphere of mutual respect, so that they can consider the possibility that God exists and what it means to have a relationship with Him. Okay, well, before we can understand this mission statement better, we need to understand what a skeptic is. So let's look at the definition of a skeptic. Definition of a skeptic. Well, one, he's an adherent or advocate of skepticism. Well, that doesn't help very much to help us understand what a skeptic is. Let's see what definition 2 is. A person disposed to skepticism, especially regarding religion or religious principles. Well, okay, so when we're talking about a skeptic, the connotation is usually they have a problem with religion or with religious principles. But a skeptic being defined in terms of skepticism doesn't help. So let's see what skepticism is. Definition of skepticism: an attitude or doubt or a disposition of incredulity, either in general or towards a particular object. Doesn't help me very much. I don't know about you.
It's about right.
It's about right, but yeah, I'd rather have it defined in simpler terms for me. I'm kind of a simple kind of a guy. Let's see what the second definition is. The doctrine that true knowledge or knowledge in a particular area is uncertain. Okay, I can buy that. The method of suspended judgment, systematic doubt, or criticism characteristic of skeptics. Well, that's skepticism defined in terms of skeptics. That doesn't help me very much. Doubt concerning basic religious principles such as immorality, providence, or revelation. Okay, well, we're kind of dancing around the subject, but we're still trying to figure out who these skeptics are. Okay, the first definition: an attitude or doubt, disposition to incredulity. I got to know what that means. Incredulity. The quality or state of being incredulous. Well, that doesn't help. Let's quit defining terms in terms of themselves. Well, okay, disbelief. Okay, fine. Let's see what incredulous means. The definition of incredulous: unwilling to admit or accept what is different or offered as true. Not credulous, skeptical. Okay, well, let's back up a little bit. I think that definition, the first definition, is going to help us here. Unwilling to admit or accept what is offered as true, not credulous. Okay, so finally, what is a skeptic? Here we go. A skeptic is a person who is unwilling to admit or accept what is offered as true. Stated another way, a skeptic is a person who demands proof. Well, okay, now we have a good definition of what a skeptic is. So let's understand a little bit. Let's put it in terms that I can relate to. All right. So who are skeptics? Well, it depends on what you're talking about. Demands proof about what? What kind of proof? So who are these skeptics anyway? Well, a skeptic is you, it's me, it's It's anybody. Again, depends on what you're talking about. So let's take a little quiz here and see if we can get the concept of skeptic down, okay? You might be a skeptic. Well, you might be a skeptic if you get this email and you are a little suspicious that maybe something is wrong here. Okay, let's read the email. Pay attention and read carefully. Your account has been temporarily suspended. We recently reviewed your account and we are suspecting that your account may have been accessed from an unauthorized computer. Jumping down here to the good parts. To protect your account, please do not share your password and log off after you use your online account. Now, click here to use your online account and be sure to enter your password. Well, has anybody ever gotten an email like this? I get them like 5 times a day. Different types of networks in the blank. But basically, I'm a bit of a skeptic because when I get this email, I don't really believe that my account's been broken into. And I don't really believe that clicking on that link and giving them my password is a really good idea. So I guess I have to be considered a skeptic because when I get an email like that, I don't really believe it. I demand proof. So if anybody is not a skeptic on this one, I would encourage you to become a little more, to see the light and become a little more skeptical in your life. Okay, let's have another example. You might be a skeptic if you read this in the newspaper and you hesitate a little bit to rush right out. Newspaper ad. Immediate liquidation of former bank assets. Cars available to the public for $598. Hundreds of cars available, 3 days only. I think I'm going to go right out right now and buy a car because I got $600 in the bank. Yeah, I wish that were true. Coincidentally enough, this an ad kind of similar to this, in fact, very similar to this, maybe a slightly different dollar amount, but pretty similar to this, appeared in the a newspaper very recently, and I had to go read the former print because the fine print because I might be a skeptic. I looked at this ad, and I've actually got it with me in the back room. But I was looking at this ad, and I thought, well, let's see what these $600 cars are. And I began looking through the fine print, and sure enough, they have $600 cars. Well, there was 2 of them. One of them was, both of them were from the last century. One of them had 180,000 miles, and the other one had almost 200,000 miles. And they were the only $600 cars. The rest of them were all 2011 and 2010 models. And I'm a bit of a skeptic to believe that they're going to be selling those cars off for $600. So $600 price tag on a car might get me there, but I don't think I'd be very happy with what I find. So I think I might be a skeptic. I think I might be a skeptic with this here study. Okay, well, let's do one more example. You might be a skeptic if you see this product offer and you don't hesitate just a little bit. Because after all, you might want to go out and buy one of these things. Okay, so I head for a pocket knife, 85 tools in one, all for the low price of $999. Okay, well, let's take a look at this thing. I see a Swiss Army knife here. I see, oh look, a radio antenna. Bottle openers galore. You know, when I first saw that, I might be a skeptic because I'm thinking Photoshop. And then I'm thinking, I wish I had drawn that. This is actually one that I believe, however, is actually a real product. The Wenger Giant Swiss Army Knife V1.0, available today at thinkgeek.com.
Okay.
Let's all go out and buy one. Well, so what we've learned in this little exercise is I might be a skeptic. So if you look at things like this and you demand proof, you might also be a skeptic. Skeptics can be you, can be me, can be anyone. There's nothing special about being a skeptic except we don't accept at face value what we see. We gotta have proof. So let's get back to the Bible. Who are skeptics of the Bible? Well, typically, we think of people of science, the scientists and intellectuals who are studying things of the world. And so when they see the Bible and the stories that are in it, they might hesitate just a little bit because, well, I don't know that that goes along with what I'm seeing over here in my science. Well, scientists are pretty smart. And so there's a lot of people who rightly and reasonably listen to what they have to say. I fall in that category. I think that there's a lot of good in science that we see, and we shouldn't just reject that. So people who rightly and reasonably listen to scientists and intellectuals probably inherit that skepticism from the people they listen to. And then there's those of us who aren't intellectual at all, but gee, we like to watch science fiction, and there's several shows that we really like, and we're fans of those shows, and you know, maybe we're a little geeky, a little nerdy. Hey, I think I fall in that category. Well, this group of people perhaps also is who we think of when we think of a typical skeptic of the Bible. There are some famous skeptics that we could cite. Galilei, who lived in the 15 and 1600s. He was an astronomer who looked up in the night sky and was trying to figure out what was going on, and his skeptical statement was, well, the earth moves around the sun. I think he was the first to make this statement. Another famous skeptic, Charles Darwin, who lived in the 1800s, and we know that Charles Darwin came up with the idea of natural selection and evolution. And Richard Dawkins, born 1941, an outspoken atheist and humanist. These would be examples of famous skeptics. But in the Bible, would you believe that there is a skeptic who is named, who has basically, when we was presented with information about good news that the Bible has to offer, that he didn't believe it either? Would you believe that that's in the Bible? Famous skeptic in the Bible? Can anybody name this famous skeptic? Let me give you some clues. First clue is, well, he's in the New Testament. Be thinking, have your thinking caps on. Famous skeptic in the Bible. If I gave you a second clue that he was one of Jesus' disciples, would you be able to tell me who this famous skeptic is? Okay, one more clue. Everyone reach for their Bible and turn to John 20, verse 24 and 25. I'll read it, but I'll leave the name out. Now, blank, one of the 12 was not with the other disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." After all, Jesus had been crucified. They watched him hang on a tree. They watched him have nails driven in him and take his last breath. But the other disciples said, "We have seen him. He is alive." So this famous skeptic didn't believe. He said to them, "Unless I see the marks in his hands where the nails were, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand where they cut him with the sword, and cut his side open." He said, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." He demanded proof. He says, "I'm not going to believe that. I'm a skeptic." Anyone? The answer, Thomas. Or you might think of him as Doubting Thomas, also known as Didymus. Doubting Thomas, famous skeptic in the Bible. But a skeptic, going back to our definition, a skeptic is a person who is unwilling to admit or accept what is offered as true. They demand proof. That's who a skeptic is. And that's who we're trying to reach.